You might remember in 2015, right after Justin Trudeau had been sworn in as Prime Minister for the first time, he got in his limo, he went down Sussex Drive to the Pearson Block, which is where Global Affairs Canada, our Foreign Affairs Department, has its headquarters. He walked into the atrium, it's 2 floors, and people just fell all over him. They cheered. These supposedly objective bureaucrats who are supposed to serve any prime minister, regardless of party, in a very objective way, fell all over him as though he were some sort of Korean boy band member and they were teenage girls. It was one of the most disgusting displays I've ever seen by bureaucrats in favor of one party and one leader over another. But this was because they were so sure Justin Trudeau was going to bring Canada back on the world stage. That bad, mean Stephen Harper, he'd ruined our foreign relations because he was a warmonger. He was a bad man. He had bad relations with a lot of great countries like China. And Justin Trudeau was going to solve that. Well, as we've seen now from Justin Trudeau's second disastrous trip to India, this time for the G20 meeting last week, Justin Trudeau is a foreign affairs failure, period. And not just because his plane wouldn't start and he had to wait 3 days to get a replacement plane so he could get back home. That's immaterial. I remember one time in 1979, Joe Clark went on a Middle East tour to show how important he was, how serious he was in foreign affairs, and his luggage got lost. And that became the story of the trip. But he did prove that he did know something about foreign affairs. Trudeau went to India and proved he knows nothing about foreign affairs. Nothing. There's a great shot from the G20 meeting of Azali Assoumani, president of the Comoros Union. Now, I had to look up Comoros. I don't know where it was. It is a country consisting of 3 islands off the coast of Madagascar. And there is Prime Minister Modi of India giving this great warm welcome to a man who's the head of a country of 800,000 people with a GDP that is 0.1% of Canada's. Assoumani gets this big welcome from Modi. Trudeau gets the cold shoulder. And that's because Trudeau has been patronizing towards Modi in all of their relations together. And he refuses to do anything about the Khalistani separatist movement in Canada, which is largely funded by Indo-Canadians of Sikh origin. And it's causing problems for the Indian government. Now, I think a lot of the things that the Khalistani movement does in Canada are free speech. You get to have a referendum about whether or not you'd like your homeland to separate from India. It may be embarrassing to the Indian government, and Trudeau can admit that to Modi. But he can't stop people from having a free expression of their views in Canada, nor should he try. But Trudeau patronizes Modi. He treats him as though he were the prime minister of an inferior country, despite the fact that India has 1.4 billion people and GDP that is greater than ours. Trudeau treats him like the little brother or an inferior person who is just standing there waiting for Canadian largesse. And if I were Modi, I would be ticked too. So Modi has done everything he can. First in the 2018 trip that Trudeau took with the costumes and the dancing, the fool's trip, the Bollywood trip of India. And now Modi has done the same things. He pushed Trudeau over to the sidelines at the G20, and nobody tried to rescue him. Biden seems to have lectured him from the United States point of view, and Trudeau has done everything he can in his 8 years as Prime Minister to destroy Canada's foreign relations. He was going to be the great savior. The people at the Pearson Block, that first day he went there, thought that he was their god on foreign relations. But he has been a complete and total buffoon. For Post Media, I'm Lorne Gunter.